So it appears that Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves are once again being talked about, and likely for the worst reasons, of course. But as a content creator, I kinda have to take my chances with the algorithm. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and here are 6 predictions for Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves. Let's get into it. Before we begin, of course I know that the games are only coming out in 2027 and likely at the end of 2027, and we likely won't know anything about these games until Pokémon Day 2027 in February. But sometimes it is good to talk about the future. And who knows, maybe we'll end up being surprised and get something in the closing ceremony of Pokémon Worlds. We won't though. But anyway, here's my first prediction. We are from the Kanto region. Despite starting in a specific region and town, we are not always from that town or that region. In Gen 3, Brandon or May, depending on who you choose, are from Olivine City in Johto, as we find that out during the Pokemon World Tournament in Gen 5 when learning more about Norman. In Gen 6, Callum or Serena are also not from the Kalos region, but we never truly find out where they're truly from. In Gen 7, Ilio and Celine are actually from the Kanto region, which is mentioned in the beginning. In Legends Arceus, technically, we are also not from that time or that region, as it is not a region but the land of Hisui, but it is Sinnoh. Still, you do get what I mean, we're not truly from there. Then, in Gen 9, it is very likely that we're from Galar, from the use of quote-unquote Kappa from our mom. In Legends ZA, it is also technically a similar situation because we're not from Lumio City, even though it's very likely that we're from Kalos. So in Hoenn and Paldea, we were from the previous generation's region, but in Alola, we were from Kanto. The Alola region also came as a celebration for the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, meaning that a tie to the OG region made a lot of sense. Now, in Winds and Waves, the games that represent the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, I am betting that we are going to be from the Kanto region as well, in order to celebrate the OG Pokemon games, despite the game coming out when Pokemon is actually 31 years old. My second prediction leans a little bit on the first one, and it is actually something very common in Pokemon games. We are going to see someone from previous games. This is one of the most interesting things in Pokemon games. As early as Gen 2, we saw characters from previous generations showing up in order to throw a little bit of nostalgia into the most recent titles. That is always a good way to have people connect with the new games. Johto is not really the most fair reference, as you literally have Kanto in the post-game. But even simple things like Jasmine showing up in Gen 4 to give you Waterfall, more major things like Caitlyn from Gen 4 becoming an Elite Four member in Gen 5, or more depressing cameos like Ingo in Pokemon Legends Arceus, these things can turn something meh into something really cool. And so, since we're celebrating the 30th anniversary, and I think we will be from the Kanto region, I feel like the cameo will be the same, and it will be Oak. Not Samsung Oak like in Alola, but actually former Professor Oak. I think the whole retired thing going on with the 2 Pikachu will also apply to the Professor, and we will see a bit of a passing of the torch. A passing of the torch that means that hopefully Kanto is also evolving. My third prediction has something to do with the logos for the new games, and that is that I believe that the new legendary Pokemon, or at least the cover Pokemon, which I bet will be the legendaries, will be birds or winged/feathered creatures. This one isn't really based on a lot, and there are already countless theories about the possible legendaries of Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, and I did contribute my fair share to that pile. But even though I said I had nothing to talk about regarding the Gen 10 games, well, I always kept searching for something. The logos for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves both show elements that are there to reference the specific environment of the title. The Waves title has a more bubbly appearance, which goes well with waves and water. And the Winds title is a little bit more jagged in appearance, almost as one would draw a strong wind. The opposing end of both are also pointing in opposite directions, which once again makes sense. Waves pointing down to the ocean and winds pointing up towards the sky. But both of them are similar in one thing. Both resemble a feathered wing. Now, I'm willing to give in when it comes to the Waves one possibly being a fin of some kind, and it does remind me of that fur on Terrapagos, but I truly believe both of them represent wings and will give us some sort of bird legendary. Maybe a pure water type for waves and a pure flying type for winds, and also an electric type, a pure electric type for the third legendary, the Trio Master. My fourth prediction is that we will see two Pokemon gimmicks in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. One returning one and the new one that we know nothing about but that I have theorized vastly about. This has only happened once before in Pokemon history, and it was in Alola with Mega Evolution joining Z moves. I think this was done because Gen 6 lacked a bit of development, and since they were already including the Zygarde portion in Alola, why not make Mega Evolution a thing as well? I also think that it was never done again after because it draws away from the actual gimmick of the game, especially if it isn't as prevalent as it should be. Especially since, as far as I remember, both gimmicks were allowed in VGC at the time. With Pokemon Champions now taking care of that side of the Pokemon franchise, I wouldn't be surprised to see the main games taking more risks once again, and that would include another gimmick returning. They could do whatever they wanted with it, have specific parts of the game be related to one gimmick and other parts to the other one, and not really affect the competitive scene because that's all in Pokemon Champions now. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mega Evolution again, but just for the sake of being different, I'll say Z moves. Speaking of taking risks, my fifth prediction is that we will have more action-ish based situations for specific moments of the game. No, I don't mean that turn-based battles will be out of Pokemon Winds and Waves. They will forever be the main style of battle in classic Pokemon games. But I feel like with the good reception for Pokemon Legends Arceus and Legends ZA, plus the inclusion of the Let's Go mechanic in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, it makes sense for us to actually have to deal with moving obstacles and not static ones. That means that yeah, there might be a wall we need to cross by having something in our possession like a move or an item. But I think there might end up being some situations where the obstacle actually moves or attacks us and we have to dodge it somehow. That means that yes, I do think that barrel rolls from the Legends games will be in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. And for my sixth and final prediction, I bet that the traditional approach to fossil Pokemon will be back in Gen 10. Since the release of Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, that we haven't truly seen new fossil Pokemon as they used to be. There were none in Gen 7, there were none in Gen 9, and in Gen 8, let's just say that they were a bit of a different breed from what we're used to seeing. I think Gen 10 will finally bring back the double fossil approach, and I'll go as far as to say that one of the fossils will be of a prehistoric rhinoceros Pokemon, and the other one will be the fossil of some kind of plant Pokemon. And this, my friends, this is based simply on there being a lot of petrified wood fossils in Indonesia and also an ancient rhinoceros fossil being the first thing to come up when searching for Indonesian fossils. Well, these are my 6 predictions for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, at least the ones that I want to put in this video. I have a whole bunch of theory and speculation videos regarding these new games, and well, you could honestly say that some of them are 100% predictions. But what about you? What are some of your predictions for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Good Old Deo, Dash Plays, The Gavinator, and Attila Santo, and my Twitch subscribers and newbies here, the Dr. Joe, Teixeira23, Lazarix, and Odd Cypher for going the extra mile. Thank you so much for all of your support.